back. If you looked at some of the photographs that we've just shown you, you might be thinking that some of them are better suited to be paintings rather than photographs. And you can see how the camera, as an instrument that captures reality, has actually been used to distort, or rather to capture an unconventional view of reality. Photography sometimes wanders into the territory of abstract painting, giving us a view of the unreal.
Now here, this is a very tricky image which I call it the cross section, because what was happening was that this is basically a glass wall of a mosque, and I was documenting the camel sacrifice in Bakra Eid, and I just looked behind me and there was this wall which had these glasses on it. It was full of glass, and the wall was reflecting the street. So I took 3 exposures of it, 3 different exposures, because the street scene is moving other than the constants. So you have a variety of people in all these triangles, and I call it cross section because it shows it's sort of a comment on your heritage or your society or your people, you know.
But it's not always necessary for a picture to look like a painting for it to be recognized as a piece of art.
What happens today is that people think that photography as fine art is only those photographs which are sort of resembling paintings or are still lives, or like are manipulated to make them beyond the normal picture, tampering with them to make them sort of, or sandwiching 2 transparencies or negatives to make a print, to make it look different. But you know, a simple photograph can also be an art form. You have to basically see how the photographer / artist, poet, or the gifted eye captures that moment to qualify it as art.
And in a campaign for earthquake victims, it was actually one straight photograph that seized the moment. An image with layers of meaning that the photographer was able to capture masterfully.
This is I shot in the Kashmir earthquake series when I went for the Dawn Relief campaign in October 2005. And this child is sitting on this fragile box. This is in a village just, I think, an hour after Muzaffarabad, into the Jhelum Valley. It's now called Harunabad. They named it Harunabad now. What happened was that I was there. I was doing this campaign for the Dawn Group, the Dawn Relief Earthquake campaign, and I went into this tent, and he was sitting on this fragile box. I didn't make him. He was just there, and I just said I just clicked, because I knew that this would become a heart of the campaign, because what had happened to him was that he had survived. He was pulled out of the rubble, and he had survived with not many injuries. It wouldn't be as effective because black and white has this quality of enhancing the graphics and focusing on the essential which you want to focus on. You know, in color it becomes very difficult, and if you look at color shots which have been taken and which are great color shots, they don't have more than 3 or 4 colors in them, or 2 colors sometimes. They're more towards the mono. So this moment was gifted to me because I opened that tent. Had I not opened the tent, I would not have found this boy there.
But a lot of times what makes an image exceptional is the way that a photographer infuses his own personality through a machine to make the image his own.
I think photography is very successful as a fine art medium. One, a camera, even though it's a very sort of mechanical and undiscerning machine, the thing is that even that machine has levels within it. You know, as a photographer, I know if I want to create emotion around some image, I can do X and Y. I can, play with the lighting, I can play with focus, I can play with the foreground, the background. So all of a sudden that machine is not just a machine. I mean, if you want to consider a paintbrush a machine also, you can do the same thing. But this is a machine which can be utilized, it can be manipulated in the most extreme ways. And now with Photoshop, my God, things are open to anything. So, it all depends on who's holding the machine and who's utilizing it and how well they do it.
One of the marks of any fine art is to what extent the artist has room for self-expression, communication, and personal discovery.
Some of us, are vocal, etc. I like to express myself visually, and I just use it to share things that I found life-turning or warmed my heart in some way. When it talked about love, when it talked about life, when it talked about the world, the creations. So for me, photography was a way to just vent without saying anything and not having to come inside the frame. I could say a lot of these things, use the frame, and not be in it myself.
So even with the simplest images, there's often an individuality and a magic that makes them one of a kind. The camera might just be a machine, but in the hands of a good photographer, it can be used to show us reality in ways that you might not always see with the naked eye. That's all from us at Looking Glass this week. For more weird and wonderful things, tune in to us again next week. I'm Saira Akhtar.